No, that's all right.
You raised it.
We weren't
Well, we didn't say
taking
anything.
anything out of school at all.
No.
Good morning, everybody. We
Good
will
morning.
call the finance committee to order. Becky, would you call the roll,
I guess
please?
we
Sure will. Jim Sheenline,
Yeah,
Kim
here.
Bivens,
Here.
Tom Kitson,
Present.
Mike Book, Nancy Naylor,
Present.
Jennifer Dallas.
Yeah, we were contemplating on having to pull somebody from
From the
the
audience.
Hinterlands over there in case we had a quorum issue. So anyway, let me get back to, so we'll go around. Jeremy, do you have anything for us besides your report? Charles? No? Finance guys?
Hello, I actually do have a couple things that are not on. Letting you guys know, we do have a new member in our team, a part-timer, started a couple of weeks ago. And we also have one on maternity leave, so we are working with the new person to get her up to speed on what it takes to collect taxes and such. That'll be, by the way, property taxes are probably gonna go out in May, so before our next finance meeting, hopefully they'll be out. I had another item for you.
Audit, our audit.
Yeah, our audit, we do have a clean audit. We did get it back just recently. And we didn't get a chance to get them to schedule for either the finance team or the full board, but they will if you guys want them here to go over it. Clean audit, there's a couple of things that they've recommended, best practices, but our process works. So we can or cannot do what they're asking us, but it's nothing significant. So not a problem.
Did that have to do with the cover letter where it said that we had the clean audit, but I think in the next paragraph, it talked about some communication items.
So
Was that what you're-
they have they issue the opinion and then they also have a letter that is basically to the board management that says a lot of the same things. If there is something of note that they would point that out. Basically, the recommendations were similar to last year about some of our agency type bank accounts that are maybe under a elected official where we don't record the activity on a monthly basis. We kind of wait till the year end to put it into our accounting system. They just recommended that we do it on a more frequent basis, try to do it monthly. Some of those are easier than others to do. Some of them would take a lot of work to get potential systems to cooperate with each other. But yeah, I mean, there was a similar recommendation last year and we have taken steps to do some of the ones that were a little more relatively easier to do to get into our system, and we've done that.
And some of the commentary, I think it's fair to say that we're going to have, because we're a small entity with a small shop and
Just in the nature of what we're doing.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But again, very clean audit. Everything's good.
All right, sounds good. And I guess I'll make a note, just for the sake of folks at home and for the committee, I want to thank Reed for the things that you did to help facilitate that. That ended up saving us money because that reduced our overall cost of the fee that we would otherwise have paid for the audit being done. And we appreciate that work that you did for us.
Yep. We took on writing the financial statements this year, making some of the entries that Whitley would have done for us in the past, keeping track of our fixed assets, and then also doing the jail commissary compliance testing. So we still have yet to do that, but that's something that we took on ourselves that we're going to do and save us about $5,000 for that one.
Super. All right. Any questions from the committee?
Oh,
All right.
great job, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Dean? Dean's good. Michael? Dean? Patty? Sarah? You notice I'm leaving Amy for last. I know you have something.
Hearing me. There we go. Morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to bring you all up to speed on the court technology grant. We received the results and unfortunately they denied our request for a case management system. They did allow for about $29,000 for replacement computers and an upgrade to our court panic alarm system. I did call the EOIC to try to get a more specific reason why than just denied. Obviously, it's the state. They have a budget. They have 102 counties to, provide for. And they just, said they try to determine priorities and everything. And they have a huge audit process they have to go through. So that's the answer I got. I do know that one other county was denied a case management system. I don't know which county. So we've been very fortunate in the past. Unfortunately, this year, we just didn't get that. So going forward, I will be meeting with the team and the board on financials and how we need to start paying things out. Assistant State's Attorney Brian Brim is retiring. We are hoping to bring him on as project manager for this project. So Charlie and I are talking about that, and then we'll fill everybody in on, we'll all get together before anything happens. So right now, we don't have a start date for the project. We have a few amendments in their legal department that need changed before we get the final timeline, the final numbers, everything, which should be very soon. So Tyler does have a team ready to go. They're excited and ready to go as well as we are, but we just have those things to clear up and meet with the department heads and board before we start the project. Any questions on that?
So obviously, it's disappointing we didn't get the grant. We were really, what I want to say, we kind of were predicating approval of moving forward. So that it creates a big hole for us, Amy. It's going to create a huge challenge.
Right.
Hopefully we'll be able to work through it. But I think we are going to need to have some discussions as far as timing and
Absolutely.
what we're going to be able to do this fiscal year and how we're going to move forward and how we can stretch this thing out. Because, I'll be really clear. It puts a huge hole in our capital budget.
Right.
You're talking a swing of $2 million. And plus, I think it's also fair to say that we'll say here, and maybe, you can go, if you have the numbers in front of you, our overall costs have accelerated as well.
Mhm.
And where we were looking at about 1.2 to get this done, now we're at 1.5, possibly 1.6.
I don't think it's going to be that much. I think it's going to be less than that. I'm waiting for the final. There was, like I said, a few amendments. So we took some things out, added some things in. So I'm hoping it's going to be less than 1.5.
I hope Tyler is going to be very kind to us and makes it work for us to stretch this out through our budget.
Right, absolutely. So as soon as I get those documents, which I'm hoping is today, tomorrow, I will get everybody those and we will set up a meeting next week.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good. Any questions for Amy?
Hey,
Paul?
I guess I have one. I'm hearing, project manager. Are those costs built into your estimate as well?
No, not speaking for other departments, but I think between the department heads, we can work that out with our own budget and not have to add that into
Okay.
the cost with Tyler. That's
then-
not,
And were you looking to do this as a contractual or as an employee? And I guess, I don't know, you were looking that way. So I'm asking Charlie, there's a big difference there.
right.
In that. And that's why I was just curious on that.
And I don't want to step over Amy on this, but I think it's a very much so a moving target right now because we need to see the proposal of what it's going to look like. We need to see if the amendments are approved through the legal department of Tyler. And until we have all that in the big picture, we don't know what the scope of work is going to be for the project manager as they're going through this, how many hours that's going to entail, and
Yeah.
if it's going to be something that can start right away, if it needs to start right away. So
Okay.
it's hard to
Yeah, and
answer
that-
at this point.
Yeah, and that's why I was curious. I mean, with Brian, it can be a sticky situation with if he's not a 1099, it becomes then he's not really retiring through what the IMRF situation looks like, right?
Right.
So we have to be careful with that. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, and he knows all that. He has to
Okay.
go through all that
Okay.
first and give us a
Yeah.
proposal after we get the final paperwork.
Okay, yeah, if you could put that together too, that would give us a clearer picture of what our total's gonna be. That
Right.
would be great.
Will
Okay.
do.
So I guess for the committee standpoint, when we get those numbers firmed up and we're gonna have to do a review here in regards to capital and how that's all gonna work and, you know, what we're gonna be able to do this year and
Right,
how we're
absolutely.
gonna make this work.
Yeah, and we
So-
haven't started. I mean, the project hasn't, there's not a start date, so that's kind of good. We're getting towards the middle of the year, end of the year, so. But hopefully soon we will start. So we will get everybody, we'll meet with everybody first.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody have a chance to look at last month's minutes? Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes, moved by Bivens, second by Naylor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Treasurer's monthly financial report. Gentlemen.
Yep. So, pretty consistent with last month. We are on target for our expenses. Some of our revenue categories are a little behind. Some of them are up. The biggest one that's down is PPRT, property replacement tax. And that's kind of dragging everything down. If you look at the revenue report, I kind of added a little summary at the bottom of kind of where we're at in terms of our total, or excuse me, our major revenue categories with and without property taxes, obviously with property taxes being collected more in the latter half of the year. So we're down kind of 1.75% from budget. Or excuse me, from last year, and that's all due to PPRT. We have got a newer revenue source coming in with the cannabis tax that we have a resolution on. I believe it's basically 3% of sales tax. I think it's a little early to tell where that's going to be. We've basically only received one, like maybe 10 days worth of that revenue in these financial statements, but we already have kind of what the next month is. I would say that there's probably a lot of noise in those numbers to what it will eventually level out to be, just because it is new. And I would expect that they probably had more sales than they will on a normal basis a year from now. But it's coming in probably stronger than we would have anticipated. And that puts us, that and some other things is what basically put us right on schedule for our revenue.
So are you gonna have that? Cause
It's not in.
it's not here,
in
but
this
you're
number.
going forward, eventually
still-
you'll have that broken out as a separate item.
I intend to right now. I guess I was kind of waiting to see how material it would be. I mean, just for you guys' sake, it was basically $4,000 or $4,500 is what we got and is included in these financial statements. But we've already received the April's amount, and it was 11,000. So
And that would be a full month.
that was what we got in March was for December's activity, and according to Shaw, they opened on December 21st. So that $4,500 is from sales from December 21st through December 31st, and you got a holiday in there. So I don't know, is that true sales for 10 days? Maybe, maybe not. The second month, the 11,000 basically worked out to be, they would have had to have $370,000 of sales in January. Again, whether or not that's going to be what they consistently have every month, or it's just high because it's the first few months of their operations. You know,
Sure.
we haven't had anything like this in the area before.
Well, that's kind
Don't
of
know.
like, it'd be nice to know, to be able to track that,
Yep.
you know.
And we can give you that data. I don't know that we want to muddy up these financials by separating just that one out because, you know, it really is just a sales tax,
Mhm.
which is part of the sales tax that's in here. It's up to you. It's your, you know, it's your financials that we give to you. So we can split it out. We can also give you just a highlight during the month and tell you, hey, this is what came in from something very specific. I guess I don't know if you want to get, you know, that specific on your detailed financials versus what we could break out for you just in the meeting.
I would like to have that number
Sure.
readily available.
Okay.
If, you know, for no other reason, if we're questioned, you know.
Yeah.
Out on the street. And plus it does give us an idea of what those sales are in the county.
Sure.
Because we can do the reverse math. So anyway.
I guess from an expense side of things, we're pretty much right in line with budget. If you are looking at that general fund analysis, we are down in expenses from last year. The reason for that is basically in FY '24, we would have already had a 3 pay period month by now, and our first 3 period month this fiscal year will be in May. The second piece would be the holiday pay, according to the FOP contract, was paid out at the very beginning of the year in previous years, but now that language has changed to be paid out during their regular pay, right? So as of right now, a year ago, we would have expensed the whole 100% for holiday pay, where we still have, you know, 8 months to expense this year. So it does make budgeting a little easier and make the reports make a little bit more sense. So, I guess any other questions on any of the numbers within the financials?
So I think let's take a look at capital.
Sure.
So just so the committee knows, I called a meeting with Jeremy and Paul and Reed and Bob, and Tim and I were present. You know, this was after we heard that we weren't getting the grant for the case management, and plus the announcement, you know, in regards to the wall around the old courthouse and the potential substantial cost that's going to be of where does that put us in regards to our capital budget for this year, not only this year, but also moving forward for next year and the year after. So let's have a little bit of discussion. Let's go through the capital. Just make sure the committee understands and the rest of the board members that are present here, challenges that we have in regards to capital.
Well, so as you look at that report, we do have the case management value for $1 million in there. So that will absorb almost 20% of your total capital right there. The other thing that we have to recognize or realize is with the resolution that we started a couple of years ago when I was first elected in the treasurer's role, was to make sure we had enough capital or basically reserve to cover 60 to 90 days worth of our county general expenses in any rolling year, which is at this point right now, it's about $4.7 million. So of the total, we have 8.8 million in capital right now. Then you got to take off about 4.8 of that. So you have $4 million to spend. Then you start looking at it that way, the $1 million becomes, 25% of that or better. And that's not to say that that's not worth it not to do it. I'm not saying that. I'm just giving you the breakdown of the spend there. So there are quite a few items on there that we need These are, items that have been neglected over the years. So we're going to have a challenge once we get through this year and next year as to, one, how do we maintain the value of capital? And where do we replace it? Because we're not here, we don't typically get extra funds just to replace our capital. We're, as you know, from the budget process, we are tight.
And I mean, the only way to replenish our capital fund is basically having excess general fund revenues over our expenses, which, we budgeted basically for a $2,000 difference this last time, right? So that's not,
And
that's not replacing anything. And,
No.
if that all stayed true, we're not really replacing any of our capital funds with that. So
there's really two lessons here. There's the lesson of it's the importance of having that capital budget and having those reserves in place so that when, a grant doesn't come through, when there is something,
HVAC project.
something, boiler blows up, elevator goes bad,
Wall
wall
falls
falls down,
Yeah.
all those things. That's why the importance of why we put that financial policy in place. Challenge is that, you look at your numbers and you think, oh, we're doing okay. Well, when you break it out and you just as you lay it out, Paul, and you did great in laying that out for us, yeah, we're tight. A lot tighter than I feel comfortable with. So well, appreciate that. Any questions from the committee in regards, any further discussion? I know that I'll let you know, Jeremy's been working with maintenance as far as trying to prioritize the maintenance items that are on there and what can happen, what can be deferred. We're going to have, and as we go into budget process, there's going to be some challenging discussions. So, all right. Anything? All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Insurance committee, do we have anything? Nancy?
Mr. Chair, we do not have anything. I did check with Sarah. There wasn't very much wellness activity this past month. She will have a report next month. She has a couple things planned. And the insurance committee only meets right now on an as-needed basis, and we haven't needed it. So I have nothing for you today.
Okay, very
Thank you.
good. Thank you. Administrator's report.
Just one thing to add to the insurance committee, Nancy Peterson has previously ran the insurance committee. With the addition of Susan Gillespie, our new HR director, she's taking that over. So, and I know she's going to be meeting with Sarah and Tracy here soon in regard to wellness and how that folds into everything. So there will be some updates on that here in the future. In regard to my report, again, Susan Gillespie, our new HR director, has been here. This is will be the end of her third week today. She's been fantastic. She's jumped right in, and we are just very excited to have her here. She's been working with Reed in the treasurer's office on integrating onboarding, so it's a one-stop shop in our offices up here, and that's gone seamlessly for, I think, the last 2 or 3 employees we've brought in over the last couple of weeks. I know Sarah was in on one session with our new senior assistant state's attorney. So I think that went pretty well. So we're excited about that. We did hire our building official. That is Joe Bay. Joe Bay will be coming over from the city of Dixon. We're really excited about that transition and the restructuring of the zoning department to the building and zoning department and making sure that we're being able to have some efficient internal operations and services for our constituents and public. So we're excited about that. I will say back just to the Tyler court technology systems and what's going on. Amy's been fantastic to work with. As soon as she knew that they weren't receiving the grant, she notified us. We started having meetings right off the bat with her team internally. We had a broader meeting a couple weeks ago with Amy, Brian, Charlie, myself, and Reed, and went through the whole system, which I did update you on yesterday. So, and again, I know that this is a big hit to capital, but and we understand what that looks like and the the issues that we're going to have to overcome on stretching that capital budget out over the next couple of years. But I will say that, their team has been great to work with, and they're not pushing anything on us. They've been really forthcoming with information, and I think that as we continue to learn what the cost is and what that cost schedule will look like, we'll be able to build that out and understand the impacts over the next probably 3 fiscal years is what this is looking like. So depending on how it stretches out. So I do want to thank you, Amy. You've been great to work with. I mean, I know it's a stressful time, right? So I just want to make sure that you get a little kudos. You've been good to work with, and I appreciate that. Other than that, it is April. Our budget season is fast rising. It seems like you pass the budget, you move forward, and then all of a sudden you're working on it again. I don't think it ever really stops, but we have about 2 months until we start working on budgets with our departments again. So, just be prepared for that. We're working through that budget process a little bit and trying to streamline it, but I think that, Reed and I's first full budget cycle last year, working through that, we will, this will continue to grow, and I think we'll have a better system and continue to develop that as we move forward. But just, again, it's going to be coming up pretty quick. So
It is.
that's all I have. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy. All right. We do not have any Joseph E. Myers. Oh, wait a minute. I'm skipped ARPA. Yep. And then you guys, Sarah and Patty, you don't have anything for ARPA for us other than what's on the agenda?
We will have our quarterly ARPA report next month, but I believe that Paul has a board action request
Right.
for him.
Right. And we'll get to that in due time. No monthly Joseph E. Meyer resolutions. Oops. Oh, now I messed up. No, I just hit the wrong button. Happens when you got fat fingers. Let's see. And I fly. That's right. But I don't have a lot of small buttons like this. All right. Everybody got to read the monthly sheriff's report. And we don't have any unfinished business. On new business, we have an ARPA capital reconciliation, I should say, board action request. Paul, do you want to take over that?
Sure. So looking at what we had left in ARPA and trying to understand, when we would spend that or how we would spend that, I've noticed that, we obviously appointed it to the capital side, and we actually have capital that's already spent that we really probably should use the ARPA funds for, clean it up for Sarah and Patty to be able to report on it. And then we could tell the feds that, hey, we're done. We've spent this money. And in a way, so that they don't change the rules on us and take back what we haven't spent right now, because they're doing that with some of the CARES grant money. So my proposal there is to just do a house cleanup and do some journal entries that would move money already spent through capital, move it out of capital into the ARPA funds, which will save the capital value about 101,000, because that's what we had left. And then we could basically say, hey, this cleans us up. We have 2 projects, if you will, that we can that we have our eye on that they could use as their project detail for the feds. And basically it's housekeeping is what this is.
Let's get a motion on the, moved by Bivens, seconded by Naylor. Okay, discussion, any questions in regards, you heard the explanations basically, but this is the end of the end.
This,
Right.
for project money, absolutely, we're done.
Yep.
Yeah, this would clean that up.
So what projects do you have in mind that you are transferring over?
So right now, there's that's shows complete would be, there was money spent on LED lighting replacement, and we have a couple of invoices from the vendor, and it shows complete. And then the other one would be flooring in the new courts building from that vendor as well. It showed an initial invoicing, and then it showed a complete invoicing. And we need that, and I think these guys can attest to that. We need that kind of documentation for federal rules when they do their reporting that says, I started this project, I've ended it, we've paid it, it's done, it's complete. So those two alone would cover that basically $101,000, and then we'd be clean. So really, it's like I said, it's a journal entry, nothing that has to be done to be completed. It's more journal entries. And so really the money has already been appropriated. It's already been approved. It's just, I think from your standpoint, do you guys approve it to say, yeah, go ahead and clean that up?
Are we gonna have to bring that back, or is this going to cover that approval for the ARPA expenditure? For those projects specifically?
Well, I think this
will cover that?
This should cover it
Okay.
in what I've been doing. Yeah.
The only other thing would be the administrative costs, and we've approved that, and that just
Yeah.
goes, will end at the end of the,
Yeah, because just because we've spent the money doesn't mean that their job is complete, in that they have to continue, even if you spent the money completely a year or 2 years ago, you still have to do the reporting through the end of this program, which is actually the
End of
the end of
26.
spend is 2026. The last report would be April of 27. Am I correct in that, Sarah? Yeah, they're both shaking their head, yes. So there's still 2 years worth of reporting that we have to do for the federal government. And in any of those cases, they could come back and do an audit, look at it, want to know what's going on. So we would still want to make sure that we have the records and the people available to help them with that.
So the only question I have with reporting, so if this closes everything out, your next, because you do quarterly reporting right now, or is it just annual?
We
Just
do annual reporting.
All right, so-
It's due every April.
Okay, so you'll do an annual report this month for 24?
24, so it would be April 1st of 2024 through March 31st of 2025. That's the current report that we're working on.
So this journal entry, this fix would then go on the 25 report?
Yep, the
Okay,
one that
so-
we submit in 26, yep.
The one, yeah, correct. So then after that, you do one more, but that's really just, it's your blanket report. You got to send that through. Is there a closeout, like specific report that we know of that?
Treasury does not have a specific closeout report yet. I viewed a webinar last month and they are working on a closeout module, but they
Okay.
had no details on it. They're hoping to maybe be able to offer that in 2026, possibly, when individuals are doing their reporting, so that if they have expended all of the funds, then they can close it out and not have to do that report in 2027. But that's still in process. There were a lot of questions asked about, with the closeout report, are we going to have narratives,
Right.
additional information besides the data that we're inputting? And they couldn't answer that.
Gotcha. I was just curious because depending on programs, that you have different reports that close out those types of things. And I was just curious on how in-depth that one might be and what that might look like.
Yeah, at this
Just
point,
don't
we
know.
don't know, and it almost sounds like Treasury isn't sure either,
Sure.
because they
Okay.
weren't able to answer any of those questions.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Jim, you said you had a motion on the table. What is the motion?
motion is to approve the board action request as presented.
As presented, okay. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. We do not have any executive session. Is there anything else to be brought before the Finance Committee this month? Hearing none, I entertain motion to adjourn, moved by Kitson, seconded by Naylor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful Easter.